Hi everyone and welcome to week 2. For week 2 I want to go over what's the requirements for this week. If you click on the week 2 overview, let me change this real quick. We're going to be read chapters 3 and 4, and you have discussion board number 2. Now for this week, it's going to be the same setup as last week in terms of what we're focused on in terms of discussion board. So make sure to really focus on those activities and the requirements. If you click here to week 2, I have the schedule of what we're looking at. I have some various videos for you to review. I have a lecture on the 2 specific trade models. I have chapter 3 and chapter 4 PowerPoint. I have a couple different websites right here on the Ricardian Model, and I have some different papers as well that you can review. Here's the discussion board task as well. So for the discussion board, let's go over the requirements. Here's the requirements. For this week, your first post is due by Thursday. That's worth 20 points. Your initial post, you must have APA formatted in-text citation and reference, and you must have good use of economic terms. So that's what I'm looking for in your initial post. With your peer responses, I'm looking at 2 peer responses of at least a paragraph. A peer response can consist of any response to any question of any peers or to anything that I ask to anyone as well. That'll count as a peer response. But make sure to focus on your initial post and your content development. Now, for this week, we're looking at the Ricardian Theory. I'm going to go over a couple different things with you. Why is there a difference in trade? Trade varies because of a couple different things. The skills of workers, physical capital, natural resources, and technology. Those are the main components to why trade occurs. You'll notice there's sources of trade as well. And the sources of trade are looking at the Ricardian models, which is looking at the differences in productivity between countries. Countries that are more productive are going to be able to produce more than countries that are as productive. And then you have the HO model, which looks at differences in skills. So the Ricardian model is looking at concepts of opportunity cost and comparative advantage. An opportunity cost of producing something is looking at what you have to give up to produce. You'll notice that we always have a limited number of workers that can produce either 2 goods, roses or computers. So the opportunity cost of producing computers is the amount of roses not produced. However, the opportunity cost of producing roses is the amount of computers not produced. So there's always an intertwine between what you can produce and what you can't produce. So a country has to decide that. Now in chapter 4, it's looking at a different model. Chapter 4 is looking at specific factors. And if trade is so good for the economy, why is there such opposition? Why is there so many challenges with trade? There's 2 main reasons why international trade has strong effects on the distribution of income. It's because of difference in the factors of production and transportation cost. When you look at the 2 specific factors model, you're noticing this key thing right here. Perfect competition prevails, which means that goods are exactly the same. And it's very hard to distinguish between these goods when they're exactly the same. When we look at this model, we're going to look at a model of how much we can produce given our output, our capital stock, and the amount of labor that's employed in those industries. When we look at a production possibility frontier, we're looking at a production function, which means the more labor that's being put into, the more labor that's being added, we have more output. However, you see there's a diminishing returns that sets in, which means each worker we add is not going to be as good as the previous worker. So we're not going to get the most benefit from adding additional workers. When we look at the production possibility frontier, you're looking at this diminishing marginal returns. Each worker that's added adds less than the previous. And that's an important concept that we're going to be focused on. So here's the marginal product of labor. You can see the decreasing amount. That means each worker that's added, he adds less and less as the previous. So those are some of the concepts that we're going to be discussing this week. If you have any questions, please let me know, but I look forward to your effort.